Raids, arrests, deportation flights, and no, this isn't the United States. This story is unfolding in the United Kingdom, where immigration enforcement is escalating in a way that echoes some policies from across the Atlantic. A nationwide deportation push is underway, targeting illegal immigrants in multiple sectors: warehouses, car washes, vape shops, and yes, restaurants, including Indian restaurants, have all been affected. For decades, the UK has stood as a beacon of opportunity for millions of people from India, a place to study, to work, to build a family, and to create a new life. The path was straightforward: work hard, follow the rules, and eventually earn indefinite leave to remain, or ILR, leading to the pride of holding a British passport. But what happens when the rules suddenly shift? Indian restaurants are closing overnight. For many restaurant owners across the UK, this has become an unsettling reality. Recent figures show over 609 arrests, marking a 73% increase in immigration enforcement actions compared to previous years. Imagine if the road to security you once trusted suddenly doubled in difficulty, and at the same time, a wave of aggressive enforcement actions makes you feel less like a valued member of society and more like a suspect. This isn't hypothetical, it's happening now. Indian-owned businesses have been raided, and workers are facing the possibility of deportation. At the same time, sweeping changes to immigration law are making it far harder to achieve permanent residency or citizenship. The message is increasingly clear: Indians may no longer feel as welcome in the UK as they once did. Today, we're breaking down this seismic shift. Why is the UK intensifying its crackdown on one of its largest and most integrated communities? What are the new rules that could reshape the path to ILR and citizenship? And why are more Indians now considering leaving the UK permanently? To understand the anxiety gripping the Indian community, we need to look at what's happening on the ground. Recently, the UK Home Office launched what it described as a UK-wide blitz on illegal working. Earlier this year, enforcement teams descended on hundreds of premises, a significant increase from previous operations. Arrests surged, with many individuals detained. While the Home Office maintains that these raids target all sectors, a notable portion focuses on businesses often run by or employing migrants, including nail bars, restaurants, and small enterprises, convenience stores, nail bars, food delivery services, and prominently, Indian restaurants have all been under the microscope in the UK's latest immigration enforcement efforts. News reports from recent months paint a stark and unsettling picture. Entire raids on single Indian restaurants have resulted in multiple arrests. The message from the government has been unmistakable: immigration rules will be enforced, and violations will not be tolerated. Far from operating quietly behind closed doors, the Home Office has taken a very public approach, in a move widely compared to high-profile U.S. policies. Videos of raids and deportations were released to the public. These were not just procedural updates, they were strategic, showing the UK's firm stance on immigration and serving as a cautionary signal to those working or hiring without the correct paperwork. This isn't a one-off event. The crackdown has intensified and broadened. A new wave of operations targeted the gig economy, specifically food delivery riders. Within just a single week, hundreds of arrests were made, including Indian nationals, during raids in West London. For Indian business owners, the environment has become increasingly precarious. It's no longer just about ensuring employees have the proper documentation, it's about navigating a system where even a minor oversight could have devastating consequences. The Home Office is now actively pursuing business license revocations for establishments found to have employed illegal workers. Long-standing community staples, some running for decades, face the very real threat of being forced to shut their doors. This strict enforcement approach reflects a broader policy shift, one aimed at reshaping who is allowed to stay and thrive. In the UK, for many migrants, indefinite leave to remain ILR has long represented the ultimate goal: security, stability, and the freedom to live and work without the constant anxiety of visa renewals. ILR is not just a bureaucratic status, it's the critical stepping stone to British citizenship. The moment when a migrant truly feels at home in the country they have chosen. Traditionally, skilled workers could qualify for ILR after 5 years of lawful residence, 5 years to build careers, establish roots, and integrate fully into British society. But the government's latest immigration white paper, part of the initiative titled Restoring Control Over the Immigration System, has drastically altered that timeline. Under the new proposal, the standard qualifying period for settlement would double, extending from 5 years to 10 years. Think about that for a moment, a full decade of living under temporary visa conditions, of uncertainty, of waiting to feel truly settled in the country you call home. For anyone who moved to the UK with the dream of building a life, this is a monumental shift. The implications are profound. Careers must be planned around longer periods of temporary status. Families face prolonged uncertainty. Aspiration of citizenship are pushed further into the future. What was once a predictable pathway to stability now feels fraught, complicated, and more uncertain than ever before for Indian communities. These changes are not just numbers on a policy sheet, they are personal, tangible, and deeply felt. Business owners worry about inadvertent mistakes that could end in financial ruin. Employees fear sudden raids, detentions, or deportation. Entire communities are grappling with the realization that the British dream may no longer be as attainable as it once was. As the UK reshapes its immigration landscape, it raises critical questions. Who will continue to feel welcome? How will long-standing migrant communities adjust to these stricter rules? And what does this mean for the future of Indian businesses and families in the UK? The story unfolding is not just about enforcement, it's about policy, opportunity, and the lives impacted by the shifting immigration environment. It's about the delicate balance between upholding the law and maintaining the inclusive promise that has long attracted skilled workers, entrepreneurs, and families from India and beyond. For now, the landscape is uncertain. Indian nationals, business owners, and skilled workers must navigate a system in flux, where the stakes are higher and the timeline to stability longer than ever. What remains clear is that the choices made today by policymakers, businesses, and families will shape the future of one of the UK's most vibrant and integrated communities. For Indians pursuing a permanent future in the UK, the hurdles are stacking higher than ever. The government's new immigration framework is introducing stricter rules that touch almost every step of the journey from entry to settlement and, finally, to citizenship. One of the most immediate changes involves English language requirements. Main applicants will now need to demonstrate a higher level of proficiency. But it doesn't stop there. For the first time, adult dependents will also be required to pass a basic English test just to join their family members in the UK. This seemingly small adjustment creates another barrier, adding stress and cost for families trying to settle. With the path to indefinite leave to remain ill or becoming twice as long, the journey to British citizenship is inevitably extended. Organizations such as Citizens Advice are now urging eligible applicants to act quickly under the current rules. Those who wait risk facing years of additional uncertainty and prolonged legal limbo. Under the new system, beyond delays, there's also growing concern about enforcement. The government appears increasingly willing to use its existing powers to revoke ILR status, even for those already settled. Under UK law, ILR can be withdrawn if it was obtained through deception, if the holder commits a serious crime, or if they remain outside the UK for more than 2 consecutive years. While these rules have long existed, the so-called hostile environment makes every interaction with the Home Office feel like a potential risk. For many, the path to staying in the UK is not only longer, it is also fraught with anxiety, and it's not just about staying, it's also about getting here in the first place. The government's new strategy seeks to tighten the very pathways that have historically allowed skilled Indians to migrate. Take the skilled worker visa, for example. Recent changes have significantly raised the eligibility bar. The minimum skill requirement for a sponsored job has jumped from the equivalent of an A-level to a bachelor's degree level. This adjustment removes a substantial number of roles from the eligible list, affecting sectors like hospitality, logistics, and trades that traditionally relied on overseas recruitment. At the same time, salary thresholds have been increased, putting even more jobs out of reach for potential applicants. These combined measures are effectively shrinking opportunities for many skilled Indians hoping to move to the UK. Perhaps the most impactful change affects the health and care sector. Long a lifeline for both the NHS and social care systems, the Health and Care Worker Visa, a crucial route for thousands of Indians, has now been closed to new overseas applicants for care worker roles. Experts warn that without overseas staff, many parts of the NHS and social care system would have faced collapse years ago. For Indians who saw this visa as their pathway to the UK, that door has now been firmly shut, marking a significant blow to both professional aspiration and family migration plans. These changes also touch the next generation. Indian students form the largest group of international students in the UK. Historically, the graduate route visa allowed students to remain in the country after graduation to seek work experience, but tightening restrictions on visas and post-study pathways now threaten this route, making it more difficult for international students to convert their education into career opportunities in the UK. This combination of stricter entry requirements, higher skill and salary thresholds, and longer settlement periods fundamentally reshapes the British dream for Indians. What was once a clear path to study, work, and ultimately gain citizenship is now a journey filled with uncertainty, risk, and delay for Indian families, workers, and students. The new immigration framework signals a profound shift in expectations. It's no longer enough to simply work hard and comply with the rules. Every step of the journey, from applying for a visa to achieving ILR, and ultimately citizenship, is now longer, more difficult, and fraught with challenges. As the UK recalibrates its immigration policies, Indian migrants face tough choices: adapt to the new, stricter reality, seek alternative pathways, or even consider opportunities outside the UK. For those who once saw Britain as a land of opportunity, the picture is increasingly complicated, uncertain, and high stakes. The pathways that once allowed international students to work in the UK after graduation are being significantly reduced. The popular graduate route visa, which gave students valuable post-study work experience, is now shorter and more restrictive. On top of this, most students are no longer permitted to bring dependent family members with them. This makes the UK a far less attractive study destination, especially for Indian students, for whom the ability to gain international work experience after their studies has always been a key consideration. Adding to the uncertainty, India has recently been placed on the UK's Deport Now, Appeal Later list. This means that Indian nationals convicted of a crime could face deportation before their human rights appeal is even heard. Raids, rule changes, and closing doors. When you put it all together, a clear picture emerges. This is a systematic restructuring of the UK's immigration system, designed to deter all but the highest paid, senior-level migrants. Because Indians form the largest share of non-EU migrants, these policies disproportionately affect them. The sense of being unwelcome is palpable. Student organizations like the National Indian Students and Alumni Union have raised the alarm, calling for clarity and cautioning against panic among current and prospective students. A recent government review even acknowledged that hostile environment policies disproportionately impact people of color, with Indians among the most affected groups. What makes this situation especially perplexing is timing. While the UK is tightening its borders, it is simultaneously finalizing a major free trade agreement with India. This sends a contradictory message. The UK wants access to India's massive consumer market, yet is increasingly closing doors to Indian people who form the living bridge between the two nations. When we ask whether the UK still welcomes Indian migrants, the government's actions speak louder than words. Raids, doubling the timeline to settlement, closing vital visa routes. These are not minor policy tweaks. They point to a deliberate strategy of deterrence. Of course, the UK is entitled to control its borders and set its immigration rules, but these changes go beyond policy. They represent a fundamental shift in the relationship between the UK and its Indian diaspora. They create instability and anxiety for hundreds of thousands of people who have invested their skills, careers, and futures in Britain. The dream of a secure life in the UK, culminating in settlement and citizenship, is now being pushed further out of reach. For a growing number of Indians, the calculation is changing. The country they once viewed as welcoming is beginning to feel hostile. And the difficult question is no longer, how can I stay, but should I leave? This is a deeply personal and complex issue, and we want to hear from you. Are you an Indian student, worker, or business owner in the UK? How have these changes affected you? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, share it with those who need to see it, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on the issues that matter most.